It's October 2021, and we find ourselves in a situation where in many places, people are being offered more money to pour coffee than to be a machinist. What does this mean for the trade? We're gonna get into that. Before we do, make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Let's get into it. Okay guys, this one was a very interesting, very relevant, very timely conversation. I found it very interesting. I hope you guys do too, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one. A guy came on and he wanted to know, what do we do in 2021 right now regarding wages? He was pointing out that in North America, he didn't say, he was in the US, he didn't point out exactly where he was, but he was having issues with staff retention. He pays guys a wage, and all around him, wages are starting to go up and surpass that wage he pays his machinists. It did sound like this was an issue more affecting some of his lower end guys, so his operators or his setup guys, not lower end, but at the lower end of the pay scale compared to, you know, the journeyman machinists or the programmers, you know, who make more per hour or more per year. And he was having issues with staff retention. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was him or another guy who pointed it out, but they actually had a scenario where they had one of their machinists, and machinist, not an operator, leave because a warehouse had opened up near him that was paying $28 an hour to drive a forklift. You know, another guy pointed out that in his area, it's difficult because there are now restaurants offering $30 an hour to serve. And the question and discussion around this whole conversation was, what do we do about this? You know, we all can agree that wages in the trades, especially manufacturing, have not really kept pace with inflation, and especially now that we're dealing with a situation in North America where everybody wants more money. Everybody's asking for more money, and people are getting what they're asking for. It's a very, very difficult situation, and guys were kind of asking each other questions about what they plan to do with it. How are they planning to handle this scenario? And I'm gonna say off the bat, guys, this is an extremely complicated issue. I'm not an economist. I'm not really into politics. I don't know all those aspects of it, but I do know there is something going on right now where wages have to go up. They are going up across the board. What do we do in order to stay competitive? So this was a very, very good conversation, guys. I hope I'm gonna do it justice, but I do recommend you go click the link in our notes here to go check out this conversation because it was interesting. It's a lot more nuanced than I'm gonna have time to get into here in a quick video. But essentially, the big question that people were asking was, what is the incentive for people to get into the trade when they could go make equivalent or more money doing a job that has less skill? For instance, you know, warehouse work or service industry type stuff where you can go train and you're on the floor making the full wage within a month or two, as opposed to something like a machinist trade where typically you get in as an operator, you make, you know, $16 to $18 an hour for a few years, and then you slowly build your skills until you're making the $28 to $45 an hour that some places can command. And it is very regional, obviously, guys. I know some guys in that conversation were saying that no matter what, they're in a low cost of living area of the US, their wages are just not gonna hit $45 an hour. Their top guys are getting paid 25 because you can buy a house there for 100 grand. So, you know, don't focus so much on the specifics of the numbers of this conversation. Focus more on the, what do we do to stay competitive? And that's really what it was coming down to. You know, guys were lamenting the fact that if they're paying guys on the floor to run a machine, they were paying them $15 an hour or $16 an hour. How do they now stay competitive when they're running production style work if they now have to pay that guy $30 an hour? You know, one of the big things about North American manufacturing that we've had to contend with over the years is offshoring. And what has been the big benefit to offshoring? People can save money because wages are lower. So now we're in a scenario where guys have to pay their employees more in order to retain them. That edge that offshoring had previously just got higher. So the question that everybody's asking themselves is, how do we pass on this cost to our customers without losing them entirely? Guys had different strategies for this. You know, there was no one good answer in here because we're all just trying to figure it out. The one thing that I saw people talking about a lot in there was automation, they are planning to replace their low entry level guys with automation. For instance, putting a cobot in front of a mill to reload it, lights out for 24 hours a day, instead of paying a guy $18 to $20 an hour to run it, because that guy now is going to be commanding 30. I did see guys in there speculating that this is a bubble. I thought that was an interesting perspective, but I don't know if that's true. Guys, wages typically do not go down. Contractions have definitely happened in the world. We all know about the Great Depression, we all know about the recession, but typically, since the 70s, 60s even, wages don't go down. They go up and everything raises to meet them. Now we're in a scenario where it's kind of flipped, where costs and inflation have gone up and now wages have to rise to meet them. For those of you who are thinking in that thread, who are commenting that, this is temporary, we're gonna contract, if you hire on a bunch of warm bodies right now at $30 an hour, you're gonna be in trouble because that guy's not gonna accept a pay cut, in a year or two when wages go back down to 20. I think this is misguided. I think that if wages go up, they're probably here to stay, and it's about trying to build your business in a new direction, or revamp what you're doing in order to make that work. Counting on them coming down and just trying to weather the storm and get by with as little as you can, it's not really going to be effective, guys, and I don't recommend it. If you fail to pivot and embrace what's going on, you're going to get left behind. Personally, my thoughts on this, I am actually hiring right now. I am giving guys raises. My biggest thing right now is staff retention. That's what I'm focusing on. The biggest problem that we're going to run into when wages go up is it's going to further the problem with people not getting into the trade if our wages don't rise to meet them. Already there's a skills gap, already there's a shortage. If we do not give people incentive to come into the trade, there is going to be no one left in the trade. If you're planning to run your business for 5 years from now only and then you're closing, this might not affect you. But if you're like me, I'm 33 years old this year and I'm planning to be here for at least another 20, maybe 30, I need to be able to have guys coming into the trade and have guys in my shop that know what they're doing. I can't train absolutely everybody up from zero in this area. There needs to be a pool of candidates because, people leave the trade for reasons outside of money. And if you don't have people coming in to replace them, you're going to be in trouble. If my customers want to offshore, this is a problem, but I do not think people offshoring right now in 2021 is going to be as big of a problem as it was in the late 90s. Guys, if people were going to offshore, they've typically already done it. My work, at least, does not deal with 10,000 parts in a run. My work does not deal with 100,000 part runs, so I can't really speak to that. But when it comes to customers of mine, I'm dealing with small run stuff, I'm dealing with short production stuff that doesn't make sense to put on a boat to and from Asia or to Indonesia or wherever it may be. Our stuff is short order, need it now, need it yesterday type work. That is the kind of stuff, in my opinion, that is the most offshoring proof. So I've been trying to develop and keep holding on to those kind of customers in order to basically base my business model more around that, as opposed to trying to compete with lower wages, because that model is not going to work anymore. You can put as much automation on the floor as you can. As it stands right now, I don't know on a straight price-to-price basis if you are going to be able to compete with places where they pay $4 an hour. Maybe you are, I don't know. I definitely know you can be more competitive with automation, but trying to compete on a dollar-to-dollar basis, I think is going to be very difficult. The other thing that I'm trying to do, and this is one of my strategies in order to retain customers through retaining staff, is try to focus on the benefits of what we do well. So to my employees, I may not be able to, we're not in aerospace. We're not doing, stuff that goes to the moon. I can't pay guys $45 an hour because the work we do does not command that. What I can do is pay a fair living wage, and guys deserve that. The other thing I can do is try to highlight the benefits of working here. We have a very relaxed work environment, a very independent work environment. We do not work evenings, we do not work weekends. We work 4 days during the week, we have a half day on Friday. We have full benefits, and we're in Canada, so that does not include health insurance as you guys have in the States, which is a whole different conversation. But it's these things and the structure that we try to build into our business here that give guys benefits aside from straight money. Does it affect my bottom line? Yes. Could I make more money by having a night shift running? For sure. Could I help my bottom line by working weekends? For sure. But the problem is that it's gonna burn out my staff even more. And if I'm doing that, I need to pay them even more. You know, it's not a matter of not wanting to pay people, but it's building a business model that keeps people happy, keeps their families fed, gets them a fair wage, and gives them the benefit of working somewhere that they enjoy. Because guys, if you enjoy working somewhere, it's a lot more manageable than working somewhere you don't like. Plain and simple. To my customers, using that same theory, I try to highlight the things we're good at and chase the work that we are really good at the moment. For instance, the benefits of working with a local company like myself, 2 local businesses, is that you can drop in, we can have a conversation, you can look at your parts. You can come check in on how things are going. We can be very responsive. You know, I have customers that call me on Monday and say they need a part on Tuesday. I have customers that come in and say, hey, we have all these parts that are wrecked right now from another supplier. I need you to fix them by the weekend. You can't do that with offshore work. That kind of work is always going to exist, and trying to focus on it for me has been important, because that's work that I'm not going to lose to a place with lower wages. It allows me to pay my guys well, because as you guys know, service orders and rush orders can command a higher rate per hour from the shop. So essentially, guys, my whole thought on this is wages are going to go up. We have to build ways into our businesses that are going to be able to help that, because it's not going to go the other way. And essentially, guys, just be aware of what's going on. Try to keep up to date with what other shops around you are doing. Don't be the last shop to give raises, or else your guys will leave. Make sure you're paying your guys a fair rate, because if you're not treating your employees well, you're not going to have employees, especially in this market. Lastly, guys, for you guys who are employees, this is a very critical time. Make sure you recognize and call out if you feel you are being taken advantage of on your wage, or in your work environment. But make sure, guys, you are having conversations with your employers. Some people right now may not know. The guy who runs your shop may not know that the guy down the street is paying $10 an hour more, because he's been running the shop since the 60s and he just doesn't know what a fair wage is. Give them the opportunity to do the right thing. Talk to them and say, listen, do you know what? I enjoy working here. Down the road, I can get this much more. Our wages need to come up to meet it. They may say, do you know what? You're right. Let's give you that money. Make sure you're having open dialogue. And if you're in a place where you can't have open dialogue with your employer, in my opinion, you shouldn't be there anyway. I'm just saying, give people the benefit of a doubt, have a conversation before you quit. But if you were in a situation where you know you're being taken advantage of and not getting your fair wage, this is the time to go. This is the time to go find a new job, because there's a lot of places hiring and paying a lot of money to get you there. I saw places when I was down in the States offering $5,000 to $8,000 signing bonus just to start as a machinist. So this is a seller's market when it comes to your skills. So keep it in mind, guys. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts below on how the rising wages are affecting you as an employer. As an employee, what are your plans? Are you planning to stay where you are? Are you planning to leave the trade? Are you planning to bounce around and try to get a bit more money per hour? All these are very fair things to talk about. This is an industry-wide and really business-wide, the whole business environment in the US and Canada event happening. So, having an open dialogue about it and figuring out how we're going to be able to compete with places that aren't here is important. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below on this. Thank you very much for watching, guys. As always, make sure you like and subscribe below if you want to see more videos. You take care.